Hello, everyone. It's Friday, and this is Rebel with your transfer takeover update. Hello, everyone, and you're very welcome on this Friday to the Man United agenda. My name is Rebel, and I know what you're thinking. Rebel, why are you not at work? Well, I can tell you why I'm not at work because it's coming up to lunchtime. I said I'd take an extra one and bring you the latest news regarding the takeover because this thing has just been carrying on at a rate of knots today. So, what is the story, says you? Well, before I do that, please do give us a like, share, and subscribe. We do very much appreciate your support here in the channel. So, first of all, who's out? The Ricketts family, owners of the Chicago Cubs, have said that they are not expected to make a bid for Manchester United, and also Sixth Street US Investment Group are also out. Last night we were told that there's 5 serious bidders remaining on the table. A number of Americans, obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe, a Qatari bid, and Saudis. But according to reports today, there's still only one of these bidders public, and we know that is Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But what is the story about Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Well, he's tied up with 2 prolific investment banks in order to take care of that debt that the Glazers will be leaving behind them. A total of £659 million of funding has been made available to him. However, sources have been saying in the media that his bid for club has fallen well short of valuation that the Glazer family are seeking to get from him. So, is the writing at this early stage on the wall for a Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid? I would like to know your thoughts on this in the comments. The other development is obviously surrounding the reported Qatari bid. The family has already said that if such a bid were to take place, that it would be for the whole of Manchester United. There will be no minority stakeholding. And there was a number of people commenting on their ownership of PSG and the conflicts of interest that that would have. Now, it is understood that it is different parties and a different area of the Qatari family that would be dealing with taking over Manchester United. And they have cited an example that they could create a structure along the lines of the Red Bull structure with Leipzig and Salzburg to satisfy the conditions of UEFA in respect of dual ownership of clubs competing at Champions League or Europa League, etc. That is from Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic today. UK strains, how are we doing? But you're saying, Sir Jim, all the way from me, I'd rather we keep the sale close to home. What are your thoughts, though, on him falling short of valuation and that it could be difficult for him to close the gap? That's what I would like to know. Going back to the Qatari bid, it has also been quoted in that Athletic article that it is time for the country to enter the most popular football league in world football. So that is straight from Tahim bin Hamad Al Thani himself, and he's the Emir of the Qatari family. So it seems they are all guns blazing for to take control of Manchester United. And according to some reports, that talks have been advanced between them and the Glazer family. How accurate those reports are remains to be seen, but it does seem that they, at least on paper, are the front runners for Manchester United, and given their net worth, would probably have the capacity to blow any other bid out of the water. Now, I do see 14 of you joining me on this Friday lunchtime in the chat. I do want to know what you think of the latest developments. A number of American frontrunners appear to be dropping out. The prospect of conflict of interest seems to be looking at an issue that's null and void because there is precedent in the Red Bull setup. So what exactly do you think will be the outcome here? Because at this stage, it does look like it's another Frankie de Jong saga, except this time, the prospect at the end of the day is that we will be sold. FTS and Cullum, welcome to the show. No matter who we get, they have to be able to financially afford what's needed, and they need to look after the club. I don't want Americans. Well, obviously, given what we've been through in the last 10 years, in particular under the Glazer ownership, there would be a healthy mistrust amongst the United fan base towards further additional American owners. And of course, the bid that would be needed to this point. UK strains, you're saying. I don't have a great feeling about selling to Qatar or Saudi. Well, I suppose at the end of the day, UK, we all have healthy mistrust of situations that we're not fully aware of the detail of. And I suppose as a fan base, we can all have our preference as to who we'd like as an owner. But unfortunately, that is beyond our scope of control. The Glazers will sell to whoever gives them the most bang for their buck when they're signing over the deeds. So it will then be up to us to get behind our team and support them. And I'd imagine nobody with a net wealth that can afford to buy a football club outright would have 100% clean past. So I suppose all we can do is speculate on that side of things. But it's interesting now that there's quotes emerging from the Emir, and as we stated yesterday in the morning show that we done on this takeover debacle, it's something that has emerged quite frequently. DN Vlogs. UEFA would have to change the rules for Qatar ownership due to them owning PSG already, but I prefer them or UAE owners anyway instead of USA owners. That they would have to be satisfied with the structure of the ownership, because what the reports are is that it wouldn't be the owners of PSG that would be the makeup of the directorship of Manchester United's bid. It would be a separate, I think it's the QIA group that would be responsible for forefronting a Manchester United bid. And they were confident that there wouldn't be that UEFA conflict of interest. But in addition to that, then they are already citing the existence of the Red Bull Association of Clubs, and that they would be able to adequately satisfy UEFA with that model should the need arise. Colm is saying, not only this, we have other things to think about. Well, of course, we are looking at a situation where Carrington is in a state of disrepair and would need additional work. Emma Kay, how are you doing? It's not the same people group, though. They have already been out and corrected the journalists who got it wrong. Yes, exactly. You are spot on there. Emma Cullum, like we're going to get owners that buy the club on self-debt. We're going to have people that come in, back the club, etc., but want to support the Super League, or in the best case, they just want United. Now, we won't go into the Super League today. There is quite a debacle surrounding that at the moment. David Harrington, how are you doing? Welcome to the Man United Agenda. Where the money comes from doesn't really concern me. First and foremost, we need to be made successful again. Anyone pumping in big money will see a return in the long run if we get back to winning ways. That is 100% correct, David. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that front. It is going to be about the success on the field for Manchester United. UK strains, again, Saudi Arabians have way too much wealth for my liking. Well, I suppose when you look at the embarrassment of riches of their natural resources, of course, is going to be wealth in such a region. Um, DM blogs. The biggest thing we need with whoever the new owner is a proper sporting director. That is absolutely, definitely top of the list. And it would seem that most bids, the coverage that we're getting in the media is that they would all be looking to appoint sporting director. I believe Mitchell is leaving Monaco at the end of this season. Edwards, who used to be at Liverpool, is also free and available. So there's a number of top quality sporting directors that could come in and do a job for a prospective owner. Column, not a single person who has a multi-billion-dollar bank account has clean hands, so that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Well, I suppose this was what was said to me in a discussion yesterday. Once the club starts getting back to business, are we as fans even going to think about the source of the money, regardless of how clean or how dirty it may or may not be? Emma Kay, club money can handle the football, but the new owners have to pay off the debt, upgrade stadiums and training grounds for men and women, and the academy needs a proper upgrade. Now, as you mentioned this one, Emma Kay, one of the lines that came out amongst some of the journalists today was that the 600 and odd million pound debt that the Glazers currently have saddled on Manchester United, that would be coming out of the club and would no longer be a club debt. It would then be in the hands, in the case of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, of Enos and levied against them. Now, the concern that this journalist raised is whether or not Enos would have the financial liquidity in order to service such a debt, and would it require them leaning on their new asset to help fund it in any case. The other thing that was pointed out was that they have a liquid amount of about £1 to £2 billion. So they would have to have a heavy leveraged loan in order to fund the remainder of the purchase price. So again, what effect in the long term would that have for Manchester United? Because they would have a quite startling commitment then to service should they gain ownership of the club. UK strains are saying Glazers should have to pay off the debt with the sale. It's their borrowed money, not Manchester United's. That was the $1 million issue from day one. Unfortunately, because of the way the takeover took place, it became Manchester United's debt because it was amortised into the limited company which they set up that runs Manchester United. I do see 16 of you wonderful people here joining me on this Friday lunchtime update for the takeover. Please do keep giving me your views on the latest developments on the takeover. DN Vlogs, it's funny how Liverpool fans made fun of Manchester United owners and they still haven't got any proper bids for Liverpool, as literally no one else is interested. Well, that is the thing among speculators, is that as long as Manchester United is currently on the table, nobody's interested in looking at anywhere else until that sale is finalised. It's only then that Liverpool will become the focus. Bilal, how are you doing, buddy? I thought the guy has nothing to do with the Qatari government. Um, the individuals that would be involved in the Qatari bid, according to what is reported, are separate. However, the Emir, as the leader of Qatar, is obviously commenting that it is important for them now to get involved in the Premier League. Whether or not that is directly by the Emir's financial interest or not, he's speaking for his country, as far as I am aware. UK Stranger saying, big up, thank you very much, bud. FTS and column, if the Saudis, Qataris end up owning United, I am led to believe that a new state-of-the-art stadium will be built, as long as a training complex for all men, women and youth players, as well as training complex. That is absolutely correct. Now, what will be interesting is whether or not the historical parts of the Old Trafford Stadium will be preserved, or will they look to go back to ground level and build a state-of-the-art stadium. That will be something that fans, I'd imagine, will have a deep interest in should one of these bidders gain the reins. Now, It is said again, and this was earlier in the week, that they want to open up the lines of communication with Manchester United fans. So maybe something like the stadium development would be something that they would engage with and take viewpoint on. Miko, you're very welcome. I'd be very interested to see what your thoughts on the latest news with regards to the bidding is. That is that a number of the Americans that were believed to being considered floating around and looking are no longer in play. The Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid is deemed to have fallen short, according to some reports, and there's a question of whether or not Enos has the liquidity to up that bid. And of course, there is the news that surrounded the Qatari bid, which is whether or not they could satisfy UEFA rules that there is a disconnection between the owners of Paris Saint-Germain and the ones that propose to come in to United. Miko saying, please refurbish Old Trafford. Too many great memories in this place. Yes, indeed. I think you do have to upgrade the existing structure. Upgrade Old Trafford or build a new stadium, but keep Old Trafford as a hotel and museum. Absolutely. Like, I imagine it with the proper engineers in place that you could indeed lay out a plan to keep those important historical reference points in Old Trafford, and maybe even make those part of the museum tour. Now, what was interesting was in the Qatari reported bid was that they would be looking to do a mass scale overhaul in the surrounding land of Old Trafford as well. So who knows what type of a concourse they could develop should they be given the opportunity. DN Vlogs, one thing that looked good with Saudi ownership at Newcastle is they're staying in line with FFP rules, while Manchester City owners were not. Now, there was an interesting comparative study done there. Manchester United and Manchester City, the fan base is 100x bigger for Manchester United. So the fact that they were outperforming us commercially just didn't seem to make sense. And look, if there was Saudi or Qatari owners at Manchester United, there would be sufficient commercial activity available to them that I'd imagine the alleged fudging of the sponsorship would not be necessary at Manchester United. Emma K, I do not want a new stadium, just make Old Trafford a fantastic place again. UK Strains, Sir Jim has 18 billion, Qatar have 330 billion. Yeah, look, I think financially speaking, if there's anybody that has the fiscal might to go up against Qatar, they're few and far between. So if Qatar are genuinely going to come in and buy Manchester United, it's very hard to see anyone stopping them. FTSN column, it would depend if it's saleable after the neglect it has received through the Glazer regime. Now, it may be the case that the majority of Old Trafford could be absolutely gone beyond repair. However, there's still methods that you can use to preserve the historic elements, the parts that have significant meaning to us, like the Munich Tunnel, etc. There's a lot that needs to be kept and is sacred to Manchester United fans. UK Strangers saying, yes, there's too much history there. Emma, they could end up moving the whole of Old Trafford. They could end up moving the whole of Old Trafford to move it away from the tracks, but I think it would be better to make Old Trafford train stop. Okay, that's an interesting perspective. DN Blogs, Sky Sports were reporting that Qatari ownership wanted a minority ownership, whereas in reality they wanted full or nothing. Yeah, look, I'd imagine the Glazers and other parties, they're obviously going to make their own whispers to media. And when media get told information coming from a source that is believed to be connected with bidding, they are going to report it. Like if Joel Glazer said to Fabrizio Romano tomorrow, I'm going to spend 100 million euros on making my bald head full of hair again, he is going to report it because it came from him from the direct source. So I'd imagine what we're seeing there is we're seeing a bit of financial gamesmanship in the media and the bidders using the media to further their agendas. Column, I don't want a new stadium, but we don't really know how much damage has been caused. Well, we have all seen those pictures over the last season and a half of the water coming through the roof, rust and dilapidation in the joistings and the hoistings that are keeping the roof in place. So it's hard to know until an engineer goes in there and gives a significant statement as to what exactly the condition of Old Trafford is. We all remember the paint job that was given in order to make it look new, and it looks like that now is not going to be able to cover over the neglect that has been given to the stadium. The other breaking interesting news is that a number of Saudi bidders or potential bidders have been given access to the books of Manchester United. UK strains as if we need to rebuild because of structural damage, I'd rather rebuild on the same site. Would break my heart to move it. DN Vlogs. Overall, I want whoever comes in to fully back Eric Ten Hag because he's the man, as well as when he has the right backing, he will take us to the top where we belong. Absolutely. Now, what I do want to ask you, DN, is obviously we know his history of developing young players, bringing them through at Ajax and how he goes about it. I'd imagine the methodology would shift dramatically should a super rich owner arrive into Manchester United and want to hit the ground running. We saw what Manchester City's owners wanted from the get-go at Manchester City. They wanted a Champions League and they were spending money and they were making changes when they weren't delivered that Champions League. Would Ten Hag be able to actually bring in, instead of bringing in Mbappe, would he be able to look for a young Frenchman, a young African man, whoever it may be, that would be seen as the next Mbappe and cultivate him? I'd imagine what they'd want ready to hit the ground running players. Now, if Ten Hag still has the scope to pick them, maybe that won't be a problem. Let me know your thoughts. Emma, I don't think the damage is too severe that it would need a whole new stadium since the old owners always made updates to the stadium, but I assume there might be some internal damage. Just do it like Madrid did. Yeah, I suppose it will remain to be seen how much refurbishment is needed. The one thing that I do know from reports from the media is that the telecom communications, the Wi-Fi, and the stuff that makes those matchday presentations possible is very much in the dark ages at Old Trafford, according to reports last year. And I'd imagine it's still the same at present. And Emma is also saying they are still using their stadium, but some parts of it are just out of service. Yeah, the stadium is going to be a larger issue, and I don't think that'll be something that'll be solved even in the first 6 to 12 months, because they will have to assess what's going on with it. Dean Vlogs, I feel he would still apply his own development strategy for young players, and as well as players who are suiting his style, while especially Qatari Saudi owners would love big stars like Mbappe. FDS and Column, I think the DNA of United won't change regardless of new owners. We are about bringing through our youth and talent, and that won't change. And DN Vlogs, but I feel they'll let Ten Hag do what he wants. Now, it is clear to see that Ten Hag has a plan, and I'd imagine when the new ownership looks at the structures, the biggest changes will more than likely be at the executive. Some they'll probably might view as being still an asset to them and may retain them in some capacity, and others will be asked to move on. Who those will be remains to be seen. 21 of you in the chat, just to summarize where we are today. A number of American wealth funds that were believed to be interested in Manchester United, such as the Cubs owners, are now out of the equation per media reports. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has set up links with 2 mega American banks in order to cover the debt that would be left behind the Glazers should he succeed. However, there is speculation that his company Enos are not liquid enough to reach and bridge the gap between what the Glazers want and what they're prepared to pay. So we watch how that develops. And the Qatari ownership, despite reports of minority stake interest only, they do want and will only take a full control of Manchester United. And they are pointing out as well that it is separate individuals, not the individuals that are in the ownership of Paris Saint-Germain, and that they would have no conflict of interest and would be able to satisfy all UEFA's rules regarding dual ownership, because there is no dual ownership. And should they need to cite anything further, they're also citing the Red Bull clubs and that they'll be able to create the structure that to the satisfaction of UEFA. FTSN column in regards to the staff at the executive level, he wants them all out. Emma Kay is saying, from what I heard, they already like Ten Hag. He's quite successful when we were broke. Imagine him with money. DN Vlogs, changes should be made to directors and stuff, while the development of Carrington Old Trafford will let the team do what they want under Eric Ten Hag. Yes, MK, American Banks, that was the one that grabbed my attention, and it would get some concern going, all right, with regards to whether or not there'd be a connection with the Glazers. But I'd imagine and I hope that Sir Jim Radcliffe wouldn't be naive enough to give them a back door. FTSN column, nice hoodie, Rebel. Where did you get it from? Well, since you asked, column, yes, this is a Rate Energy hoodie. Rate is a powdered energy drink that is a healthier alternative to off-the-shelf drinks. Code FTSN22 will get you a 10% discount on rate.com. And that's what I'm drinking at the moment as well. So there you are, Cullum. It has been plugged. And ladies and gentlemen, just as Cullum is in the chat, he has a bet on with me currently, and that is that should Rashford get just 7 more Premier League goals this season, Cullum will be sitting here live on stream eating the spiciest packet of jelly babies that you've ever seen in your life, and we'll be watching his face contort and him get physically sick live on stream. So be sure to keep an eye on Rashford's goal tally. Red or Dead, like and subscribe. Absolutely, we do agree entirely. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Bilal, we really need better scouting structure. Yeah, that was something that we have been speaking with about at length. There was 3 players that were identified last January that we could have got for £20 million. One of them transferred to Chelsea. One of them transferred to City. And now we have Sabitzer on loan. And we could have got them all 3 of them last January for 20 million. So scouting is definitely an issue. Emma K is saying, come on, Rashi. DN Vlogs is saying, well, he's getting more than 7. It's 7 Premier League goals only. So it has to be just in the Premier League. And there's no stopping us, FTSN column. That is for sure. Red or Dead, Etihad Airways sponsors both the short and the stadium. It's a bit obvious. Well, it remains to be seen. Now, I will say I do love some of the concept jerseys that they're coming up with, and hopefully we will see some nicer jerseys come out next season. But we are coming up towards the end of the show. If you have any final comments with regards to the new takeover information, please do get them in, and we'll try and get them out before we go. DN Vlogs, thoughts on the Barca game. We will be doing a full preview of the Barcelona game next week here on the Man United agenda, so I will hold my powder dry for that one. Tonight at 8:30, we will be previewing Leeds Mark II. And Mr. B will be doing the Friday night takeaway. Watch Along will be back on Sunday. And then we will have a reaction show following the end of the game on Sunday. But for now, I think we have covered everything with regards to the latest updates. Emma is getting the last comment of the show. DN vlogs with all the possession play style, they could play straight into our hands. And I'll just leave this one up on the screen as we close out. Thank you for joining me on this lunchtime. I have been Rebel, and this has been the Man United Agenda.